So, are you a witch who is a feminist, a member of the LGBTQ plus community, or an ally? Are you also an ally for Black Lives Matter? Are you kind of nervous about what's happening in our society these days? Want to learn about some resistance magic? Stay tuned. Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a nice day. I'm getting some things done today, including spending some time with you. So of course, that's a fantastic day. So I feel like the first thing that needs to be said is the viewpoint. It's my own, what do you call this? It's like a disclaimer. It's a disclaimer. The viewpoints that I am about to discuss and talk about in this video are my own, and they have nothing to do with any of the covens, organizations, parent things that I am affiliated with. So these are my opinions only, and I do not want anything that I say in this video to affect any organization's tax-free status. So let me just put that right there, because that is a thing. So yes, these are my political views only and should not reflect on any organization that I am affiliated with. Okay? So, that being said, I don't want to get like super deep. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. But I've been interested in resistance magic for a while. I would say since probably about the fall of 2015 is when I started to get nervous about some stuff, if you know what I mean. And so there have been many books that have come out in recent years that are talking about resistance magic and witches who are activists and things of that nature. And I've been taking in a lot of these books and reading them and wanting to make change or help make change for quite a while here. And I think this year when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I think that was like the last catalyst in me to like really start looking at magic and what can be done for the resistance, for a resistance to bring about change, all of that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to start talking about that today, and this may turn into a series of videos or, you know, talking about resistance magic more. But I think the first thing that we should establish is that witchcraft in a resistance form is not new. It is not something that's part of the 21st century only. There's documented historical information that can take, I found references going back to 968 in Scotland in one of the books that I was reading. And so I'm going to share what I've been reading, but I wanted to talk about the history of witchcraft and resistance before getting into that. I think the first time that I heard about witchcraft being used for political reasons was probably in 1590 in Scotland. There was, I might need to reference because I forgot the name. Just a second. There was a man by the name of Francis Stewart, who was the 5th Earl of Bothwell, and he's said to have connections to the occult, and he supposedly met with a group of witches, and they proceeded to cast spells to keep King James VI's new wife, Anne of Denmark, from arriving in Scotland from Denmark. And I when I first heard of that, I thought that was like really, really interesting. They conjured storms to keep her ship from arriving in Scotland. And apparently there was some success there, because she turned back like 3 times before she finally made it to Scotland. Unfortunately, I believe Francis, gosh, I just forgot his name. Francis Stewart. Yes, Francis Stewart. Apparently, he got busted for his participation, and I believe was put to death. So, you know, things like that happen. But political motivation has definitely been hand in hand with witchcraft for quite some time. That brings us to Victoria Woodhull, who was a spiritualist and a feminist, and she met Cornelius Vanderbilt, and he was impressed by her stock suggestions, and he made her the first female head of a Wall Street brokerage. So that was kind of an interesting thing. Then, you know, moving forward into more contemporary times, there is the levitating of the Pentagon that happened in protest of the Vietnam War. We have the Women's International Terrorist Conspiracy from Hell, which that was protesting for feminine rights. And I believe that there's like still pieces of that organization that are still alive and working towards things like Black Lives Matters, stuff like that. So a bunch of these little tidbits I found from one of the books that I have read, but it's not the first one that I want to talk about. So the first book that I actually read involving resistance magic is actually this little beauty. The New Aradia, A Witch's Handbook to Magical Resistance. This was edited by Laura Tempest Zakroff, and I picked this up. It's a thin little guy. I did a review on this book, so I will put a link in the description box. But this was kind of a nice introduction, and this came out in 2018. So this was after Donald Trump was elected president. And I think that, you know, it very well could be that it was put out in response to Trump's election, and how a lot of liberals like myself kind of felt, liberal witches. But this is a great read and a quick read, and I highly recommend it. Articles from lots of different people within our community. The next book that I got into, and the one that I pulled a lot of this history tidbit stuff, is from from this book, Magick for the Resistance by Michael M. Hughes. This book, wow. I'm pretty sure that I did a review of this book as well. And if I did, I will put a link in the description box. I just can't remember off the top of my head if I did or not. And if I didn't, and you want a review of this book, please let me know and I will do one. But Michael Hughes is actually the man who started the Bind Trump movement and the Facebook page, and wrote the ritual to bind Trump. And this is an excellent read. And this is good for any level of practitioner. I will kind of warn those that if you're an advanced practitioner, there is a bit in the middle that might seem a little Wicca 101-y for you, but if you get through that and get to the actual spells in the back, whoo, there's some good stuff there. So this is very highly recommended by me. The next book that I read, I actually don't have a physical copy of, but it's called, it's hard to, I'm not completely ready, but I'm trying to be. It is The Revolutionary Witchcraft, A Guide to Magical Activism by Sarah Lyons. I read that on my tablet. So there's the cover of the book there. That was another quick read, but very worthwhile. And I know that I didn't do a review of that book. So if you would like me to do a review, then let me know and I'll definitely do one. And then the last book that I've read recently about resistance magic is actually this one, the Kickass Coven. How to Create a Witchy Sisterhood to Empower Yourself and Change the World by Amelia Wood. I know I have not done a review for this book either, but I will be doing one. So, hang out for that because that will be coming. Very good book. So coming back to resistance magic, I think that, so I, of course, live by the rule of 3, and it harm none, do what you will. That does not mean that I am not capable or willing to do things like binding, banishing, and even hexing in cases where it's necessary. But I will look at magic from a perspective of bringing about change that isn't necessarily hexing. I will exhaust all of those possibilities before I will get into hexing and things of that nature. So yeah, just to kind of put that out there. So I wanted to do the research. I wanted to see what people were thinking. I wanted to see what people were doing as far as resistance magic. And then how does that translate into my practice and my spell work? So that's why I wanted to read all of these books, see what other people were doing. And I have done a spell. I have created something, a candle, and I actually made this candle a couple of months ago in preparation for doing this video and for working this magic, but I've held off actually lighting it and taking that next step on the spell until I was able to do this, because I wanted to show you the candle fresh, so to speak, and talk about how I made it, and then in future videos maybe I can talk about how it's going. So let me grab it. I've got an expanse of stuff before me, so I have to like reach for it. So this is the candle that I made. Oh, I'm showing you a blank side first. So oh, it smells so good. So I am like, I'm trying to organize my thoughts and kind of talk and have it be natural. I am very much, I consider myself a conscientious consumer. We recycle in this house. We upcycle in this house. We are trying to do things the best to our ability to lower our carbon footprint. And I talk about that all the time. So, of course, this candle is made in an upcycled jar. I believe that this held artichoke hearts when it first entered this house, and now it is part of a spell. So where I wanted to start was social justice. I wanted to start with a spell that would help to open the eyes of not only people that I think are wrong, but of everyone. Because the only way that we're going to bring about change is if we learn to communicate with each other and we learn to see each other's perspectives and try to find common ground. So that is my intention with this candle. And I've got little notes whenever I do a spell that I'm actually putting something together like this or like a sachet or things of that nature. I make notes. I go and I do my research. What stones do I want to work with? What plants do I want to work with? How will they work with my intention, and go from there. So this candle, if I turn it upside down, you will see that there's some stuff in there. And what is that stuff? So in doing my research, I chose to put pearls in here because pearls work with peace and compassionate forces. And I definitely wanted to keep this subject of a peaceful nature and a compassionate nature, so that when we talk to each other, we have that in mind. I also, to reinforce that peace, I also have amethyst pieces in here for peace. I also have carnelian in here for harmony. Now I also put mullein because it promotes truth and harmony. And so there's dried mullein that is in the bottom of this. And then as far as scents go, I scented this candle with jasmine for peace and sage for wisdom. So that's what went into the making of this candle. And you can see some of the mullein has come up to the top of the candle during the hardening phase. Now you'll also probably notice that there are some symbols and sigils that are on this, and that's very observant of you. So let's kind of cover those. So let's start with this. So this is my personal symbol for justice. And I'm relatively new to creating my own symbols and sigils. So for now, I'm trying to be kind to my future self, and I am actually writing what that sigil is with the sigil so that I don't have to go, oh, what is that? But this is my symbol for justice. So that's the first sigil that I put on here. I also put on this bind rune, not runed. And this bind rune is for wisdom. I think that we could all call upon and ask for a little wisdom when dealing with matters that affect entire communities. Because it's not just our viewpoint that matters, it's everyone's viewpoint, and how do we live in a harmonious place, society, country, world. Okay. And then finally, I have this sigil. This sigil is, I am not artistic, as you can probably tell from my very basic wisdom scales of justice here, or my justice scales here. But this is my recreation of a symbol from that new Aradia book. And that was a sigil that was created by Laura Tempest Sakroff. And I actually photocopied that and put it in my sigil book. So that is the sigil to build and strengthen community. So that is a page that I added to my sigil diary here. And so those all live on this candle. And what I thought was an interesting idea of doing a vessel candle like this is that I'm going to light this and I'm going to burn this, and I am going to burn it until it, as like every day until it's gone. And then what happens? Does the spell end? No, because I can get a new wick and I can add more wax, and I can continue using the rocks that are in here, the crystals that are in here. I can add more mullein. I can add more jasmine oil and sage oil, and I can keep this spell going. So my intention is to bring about social justice in a peaceful and harmonious way. And of course, I built this as you would any spell. I cleared the stones. I cleared the vessel. I cleared the wax. I cleared the oils, and I put them in with intention. I put everything in with intention, and I blew my thoughts and my intentions into things as I added them. And so now I've got this candle that now I've shared it with you. I can burn it. I'm going to cut this wick down to about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to light it with intention. I may or may not have some magical words that I have already planned out. But now I'm going to start burning this, and I'm going to be putting out there intention for social justice in a harmonious society. So this is where I'm starting. This is where I'm starting magically, along with all the mundane things that I'm doing to bring about change, to be a resistance fighter, to stand up for what I believe in, for what I believe we need to do to have a peaceful and harmonious society. What's next? Where do I go next? Well, that's kind of the question. If you're interested in taking this journey with me and maybe sharing some ideas, working some spell work together, things like that, I am totally open to continue this magical talk with you here as I continue to grow and put out there and do the work that I feel I need to do. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, if you learned something from it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. And if you hit the bell notification, that will alert you to when I upload new videos. So that's always kind of helpful. If you're wanting to do this spell and need information from me, then let me know, and I'll be happy to put out there what I did. Or if you want to make notes from this video and do it yourself, that's fine too, but I want to know about it. What kind of resistance magic are you into? Are you interested in resistance magic? These are all some questions that can be up for discussion. So let me know in the comments. There will be lots of links, both for the videos that I talked about and for social media. So be sure to check those out. And that's it for this time. Thanks for watching, and thank you for walking the path for a little while with me. Until next time, blessed be.